Okay, it's 11 o'clock my time, so we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to highlight Sabanim here. Bring up our flags.
I'll call commands, Master Lemner. Juliet, keep parade. Paro. Gyom. Paro. Salamim K. Here.
And Yashmika, good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, sir.
Happy
Hello,
Easter,
sir.
all that good stuff. Let's begin.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Easter weekend and Passover for everyone.
Same to you.
Can everybody hear me okay? I have like a studio thing here going on with two logistical things. So today we're going to continue talking about the theme we've been sharing about pull-up and breathing, compression and expansion. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to look at a couple of comparisons of things today. That one thing about our art, which I find really special, is that the founder in development of it took the best from both worlds, Wegaru and Negaru, combining them into this Chungdanru. And so I looked back a little bit, and one thing back in 2020, as a lot of people remember, Kwang Jae Nim shared with us, because the world was kind of shut down, a series of videos. And on one of them, he talked about Shintuk and explained about the connection of our breathing with our physical and the importance of that. And then looking back, I also went back to some of the words of the founder, and he explained the importance of the internal and external directed by the mind through meditation practice. So how the founder presented us with this beautiful connection of our Weigang and our Negang in our practice, specifically with his development of the Chilsang Hyungs, relationship with Dankum Hyungs, and where both styles of breathing work all the time. And I believe as a Silver Mutuan practitioner, this is vital because it gives us our longevity. As our Weigang naturally changes, naturally through time, through how our body changes, our internal can still stay strong. And that helps motivate that physical to go beyond its norm. So I thought we would touch base on a little bit of both the Weigang with the soft and hard, and also the idea of the breathing we've been talking about with the compression. And then Kwang Jae Nim in 2020 in his video explaining about Shintuk talked about different ways of thinking about it, about expansion and contraction, open and close. And the blending of those two are directly related to good an Umyong practice. And I think that's where the beauty of our style really shines, that it's just not a hard style or a soft style. We live in that middle and show that direct harmony. So that's what I'd like to explore a little bit today. So to start off, we'll just start loosening our body. We'll start with our wrists, elbows, shoulders, up and down, and then open and close, expanding. And then taking the right hand, stretching up, leaning to the left. Inhale, and then exhale. Coming up the other side, left arm up. Inhale, exhale. Down to the hoodie, circles. Reversing. Feet together. Just gently bend down, take a breath in, and allow it to naturally fall. Another breath in, a little bit more. Okay, continuing. Waist twisting. Going into Chungul Jasa. Once you get your position in place, take a breath, and then gently just allow it to find its natural height as you exhale. Holding that position. Normal breathing. Take another breath in and let it extend a little bit further if you're able to. Switching sides of the body. Chungul Jasa. Find your natural position that's good for you. Take a breath in and exhale. One more breath in, a little bit further. And return. So we're going to start out with just a simple combination of techniques and look about the expansion and contraction both in offensive and defensive type motions. So we'll do from a Chunbi position, we'll step forward with our left side of our body, perform Hadan Maki. So we're going to inhale, relaxation, exhale. Preparing the rear hip for offensive motion, inhale, exhale. So that's going to be the first two components, the simple Hadan Maki Toro Chungdong Honggya. It's going to do that a few times on both sides of the body. Starting with the left side. Two motions. Hana. Turn. Again, same side of the body. Collect. Expand. Collect. Expand. Let's go to the right side of the body, leading forward with the Hadan Maki. Collect, inhale, expand. Dog's in the way. Return. Oh, technical problems here today. Excuse me. Right side. Hadan Maki, collect, expand. Now collect on the rear side and expand. Make sure when you're doing it, I find I really pay attention on the exhale, for example, on Chungdong Honggyak. Not so much the lead arm, but the importance of the back side fully drawing back to expand the front side. This is where Yong, I think, really plays a big factor in the body working through the breath for full extension. So the next part of the component is an Apchinutki. So we'll explore that contraction expansion with this combination. So the first motion, left side of the body, Hadan Maki. We prepare, inhale, extension, Chungdong Turo Chungdong Honggya. Now here we're going to contract with the rear leg up and then execute extension with the Apchagi. And then landing in front. So let's do a few repetitions on that on the left side of the body. By the count. First motion, Hana. Second motion, dual. Third motion, set. One more time with the left side of the body. Hana. Dual. Set. And relax. Okay, now let's do this on the right side of the body so with a good balance in our training. So starting out, first motion, Hadan Maki. Turo Chungdong Honggya. Apchagi. Contract, expand. Return. Again on the right side of the body, please. Hana. Dual. Set. Return. So the last component of this combination is one of the other first things we learned As gut members, when we start to incorporate a little bit of Jayu Kap Kwan Kong Yak, Turo Chung Dang Kong Yak. So we're going to apply that to the end of the exercise. Now, on all of these, we're going through that expansion, collecting the energy, compression, and then expansion of the energy. So the combination will be with the left side first, Hadan Maki, recollect, Turo Chung Dang Kong Yak, Ap Chagi, Kap Kwan Kong Yak, Turo Chung Dang Kong Yak. Bottom. Okay, so let's do that whole combination on the left side of our body by the count with each motion. Remember, each time we want to collect that energy, compress the energy so we have good expansion in the techniques. Obviously, with the Apchigi, use your best discretion on your balance and extension. We're not going fast. Junbi. Left side. Hana. Duo. Set. Net. Dasa. Bottom. One more time, left side of the body. Sija. Hana. Duo. Set. Net. Dasa. Bottom. Okay, now let's try this on the right side of our body. We'll do it by the count. First, the Hadan Maki. Make sure when we do this, don't allow the shoulder to do the lift. Let the elbow and hip connect and the hand naturally follow. It should be a natural motion. It shouldn't be forced. Hana. Duo. Set. Net. Dasa. Bottom. One more time on the right side of the body. Hana. Duo. Set. Net. Dasa. Bottom. Show. So, looking back and listening to Kwang Jang Nim speak about the expansion and contraction in his talk, he used Ilsu Sikdarian number 7 as an example. And the flex between expansion, contraction, open and closed is very relevant, especially in that technique. So the first motion with the outside, inside, we have the open to the close. The energy is collected in preparation for the Yaporochagi, which returns, collecting the energy, Sangdang Hong Yak, with expansion to grab, and then the contraction, letting the hip pull back to the Murupchagi, placing it opposite side, the extension, and then coming down with the contraction. So he picked this one because he thought it really demonstrated very well, especially that flux back and forth within this exercise. So we're going to perform that exercise. Now, when you're doing the outside to inside kick or the side kick, based on your abilities, use your own personal wisdom and discretion on how you need to utilize that. But keep in mind the focal point of collecting the energy, the expansion of the energy, recollecting of the energy. So Chunbi, prepare for Chilban. Outside kick, Hana. Side kick, recollect, expansion, reach, contraction. Think about the hip pulling the arm in. Expansion and contraction. Prepare. First motion, Hana. Duo. Set. extend, good expansion. Now contract, expand, contract, bottom. So I just thought I would relay that. I kind of reminded myself, I went back and watched some of his talks during that time period and really kind of wanted to relook at those things and maybe look at things that I might have been personally missing in my training to help me refocus on especially the breathing relationship to technique. Sometimes I think we get so caught up into what we're doing rather than how we get there. And I think the importance here is through our breathing is the vehicle that helps that for a good outcome. We don't want to rush. It's kind of funny that I developed a senior class based on this in our community now. And so we were talking and they said, seniors don't move. You don't see it advertised as an example, fast seniors. It's active seniors. And so we kind of had to laugh about that because everybody a lot of times wants to go too fast, especially with learning things. You have to slow down, take your time, analyze it, and then your active level is your active level as long as it is active. So I think that fits very well with what we are trying to accomplish in this program. So now let's look a little bit at the Negaru system, or in this case, Naihanchi Chodan. There's elements in here, and pretty much all of those, 90% of them, are more of the harder style. Negaru, but the external is very strong. A stable horse stance, contraction and expansion of the body utilized by the hoodie. So we're going to take just some elements out of Naihanchi Chodan. So from the Chunbi position, one area that a lot of times people don't fully utilize, I think, is when we do this motion down in Hyung, as they pull out, they leave the hip stagnant and it becomes more of an arm motion rather than a hoodie motion. So we're just going to think about that motion in itself. So starting out from this position, and also make sure your hand's not down, but in a forward low position. A lot of times people just straight down, so make sure it's forward. As we do the next motion, we're going to inhale, and then we're going to load, in this case, my right arm and hoodie. And then we're going to compress and close into that motion. So we're going to do just that sequence a few times so you can make sure we're exploring active breathing with active hip. So from this position, inhale, load, compress, dashe, ill, load, exhale, dashe. Okay, let's try that in just one complete motion. Hana, dashe, dual, dashe, set. Now let's reverse sides of our body. So your left hand is low, your right hand is pulling to the shoulder. Break it down first. Inhale. Load the left hip. Close and contract. Prepare. Inhale. Load. Contract. Without count now. Inhale. Dashe. Dual. Dashe. One more. Set. Bottle. And that motion, when we look at Naihanchi Il-Isam, that shows up in all of those shungs. So because it's repetitive, it has some real importance into how we get a chance to practice that expansion contraction in this Negaru setting through that type of hyung. The other area in Naihanchi Chodan is at the end of each of the hyungs, with the Kondo Kongyak with the covering motion. So a lot of times students, when they get ready to do that, they're in this position. They don't really look prior to the motion and don't really sometimes think about loading that hip as it comes into that. So all we're going to do from here is prepare. So the left arm is going to be center covering. We want to make sure that this is also not on the body or high. Sometimes I see it high and my students are trying to lower it down. And just think of if I extended my punch and just let the elbow bend, that's the proper kind of distance there for that. We wouldn't overbend or bring our elbow, shoulder into the body. So from this position, first thing we're going to do is we're going to look. Then our torso twist, and we're going to load the energy and then expand the energy. So we're going to load. This is the left side going out for you. Inhale. Exhale. And again, prepare. Exhale. Good. Now let's try the right side of the body. So our right arm is in front. We're going to look. Let the torso gather the energy. And then as we execute, compress and release it. Preparation. Load. Execute. One more time. Inhale, gather. Open. Bottle. Show. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Sorry, I'm on a small screen here.
I do.
Yes, sir. Of course.
On the first,
Can you highlight 7M, please?
on the first example, 1299 sheet. I don't know if you can see it right. From here, as you expand, the actual hip just wiggles. And then there's no big windup. It's really just a hip. There's a slight expansion by the hip and contraction. So it's, a lot of times, a lot of people do a big wind up. They bring it back too far. No, here. And the bottom hand, whichever hand happens to be in the bottom, is in line with your knee. It's not along the side here. The upper hand is alongside, but the bottom hand is more in line with the knee. So there's a better contraction mode here into the motion. And then the second part with this, that space is about 1 hand length width between the body and the hand. So that way it's not too far and not too close. Just like Goldilocks' porridge, it's just right. And then with the short wiggle, that kind of action. So there's a lot of this action that a lot of people have a tendency to use, as you said, upper shoulder motion, as opposed to letting the hip do the work, release, pull in kind of action. Those are the 2 areas I think may be helpful for people who have a challenge with it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to explore a little bit is we're going to talk about in Sepdanghyung and the Chilsanghyung, for example, we have a longer breathing where the exhale is a long. In other words, it's expelled through a whole push with the hands here or here, for example. Sometimes we see that in the Chilsung Young also with this motion. A lot of times people kind of want to rush it as opposed to that breathing and letting the elbows and hips kind of connect. So I know when I first started doing Dan Kum Hyung Ilban, my mind would shift to Chilsung a little bit, or Do Moon, in these motions, and then I'd have to stop and think consciously of what the next motion was. But they're very similar. So even in the motion in the beginning of the Hyung, when the body comes up, so we have to think about it, the breathing and the relaxation of the body in preparation for this next motion coming to the side. So once we come up in this position and we look, now Sabanan might correct me here. I've learned it as kind of a 1-2 with the lead hand and the other hand kind of following, as opposed to kind of both simultaneously. Just a little bit of a 1-2 motion. Then here's where we're going to draw the energy up. Here's important that part we've been talking about, that compression. And then it's important that the hip is back. So we want to think about the rear leg doing the exhale with the hip. A lot of times people already have their rear leg set in position. They drop, but there's nothing down below that helps the push. And I think it's kind of natural. Your rear knee helps go with the hip as the energy goes forward. So we're just going to practice the rollback motion, which is seen in Chilsung and Siptang Kum Hyung. We're going to inhale, compress, pay attention to the rear side of the body with the breath. Let the hip and leg generate the exhale as it goes. Good. So we're just going to do that a couple of times, which would be your left side body in front. Inhale, compress, release. Again, same motion. One more time. And the second part of it, where the hands separate, then move up closer. As you roll back, sometimes people go like way behind their back, like they kind of wipe their hands on themselves. Just allow that to come back next to the hips. Sink the energy down. Arms start to go, then the elbow, hip connect with that back side of the body as it kind of pushes forward, rather than having this set with nothing going on here. As you press, it becomes just an arm motion. So really think about consciously compressing the energy, air, and Wegum together to make the motion have its proper effect. So we're going to do from the hand grab motion, we're going to do the hands as we're now separated. Roll back, and then push. Again, hands separated. Inhale, push. One more time. And let's do the same thing off the opposite side of the body. So my right leg is in front, depending on how you're positioned for the camera. So we're going to do the first one with the hands grabbing, but this time we're going to grab the opposite hand on top. Roll back, inhale, compress, and exhale. Same position. And a third time. Now we'll do it with the hands separated. Same idea, but the energy is thinking it all the way through the palms as they go. Rolling back. Again, 2. And a third time. And bottle. Sure. Any, I have to make my screen bigger. Comments or questions or observations? Abanim, do you have anything you'd like to share? Okay, thank you, sir. Okay. So, that blend, I think, as I said before, the beauty of Chilsung, the founder's life's work, his philosophy, the movement, the tactical, is all combined in this special gift for Subaku Mudo Kwan practitioners. His knowledge of studying the movie Utobo Tungji is what created the Septangkum Hyungs. And so I believe, in my thought, he had to put these together in a format that made it presentable to the students to understand what was being presented there. And I believe forms makes one of the best observations for the individual to practice and analyze that. This way, it can be done by yourself. We don't need a partner. So you can do a lot of self-study by practicing the hyungs, which become very personal. I also find that practicing of hyungs, especially the silver mudoin, gives us the opportunity to practice as individuals at home or within a class, but based on your own speed needed while maintaining the characteristics of the hyung. Some forms obviously move quicker in certain aspects and slower, but I think for the silver mudoin practitioner, it does not mean we can't benefit from practicing all those hyungs based on our needs and our wisdom of what our body can and cannot do. That's the beauty, I think, of what we do in the art by having that blend of the Weigong and Neigong and the external and internal constantly in blend within our technique. So, Kwang Jin Nim made he said this statement several times about how our habits create our character, and our character, our destiny. And I think the first thing I try to remind myself in my personal practice is my habits that I don't see. And I think that's what's nice about being guided by seniors. We sometimes we just don't pay attention to little things that can make our technique better. And so we have to remind ourselves to break the habit we've gotten into, like Sabanim was pointing out for myself, a little too much of this. Maybe I was over explaining that, this motion to really kind of wind up as opposed to just to let the hip work and then the compression. That kind of just, when he said that, for me, the first thing that I thought of, that little suddenness is, I'm here with my two dogs. I don't have a cat. But I'm not a cat guy. But thinking about a cat when they're sitting there and they're totally relaxed and something can happen, that cat, if you've got one, will just jump into action. And this energy just explodes from it. That emotion kind of remains, that for me, I think when we look at nature that surrounds us, it's kind of there if we look for it. And I think by his explanation, that's the first thing that popped in that sudden quickness with a short, cats don't wind up to go, they just go. And here we have the opportunity to load that energy and depend on the energy for a good outcome, as long as, in our case, it's related to our breath. Have you ever tried doing a technique, for example, where you hold the breath all the time? I think everybody thinks sometimes when we do a technique, everything has to have an exhale as far as in its action, a hardness to it, as opposed to these soft techniques where we have this kind of elongating, long breath. And where do we start to learn that from is from our Mupal Dankum. So the importance of Mupal Dankum in relationship to understanding how to direct our energy through our body is kind of the warm-up then always for the exercises that we practice. We have to carry it over. Sabanam Corrales has been on our sessions here and kind of described in detail the importance of that and why that function shows up in our personal training. So one thing I think might be beneficial that helps me is before I do anything in the morning, I always do the Mupal Dankum, and then I kind of maybe do Hyung lightly, just to get my mindset. Let's carry that breathing awareness to create a habit so that my character, I guess, of my technique becomes better. Nobody's perfect, and that's okay, but we can always strive to be perfect in our thing. And I think that's why the beauty of the art is ongoing and it creates a longevity. So I'm going to turn this next section over to Graham Kilbom Nim, who's going to be sharing some insights with everybody on his observations for personal growth as a practitioner that might be facing different age-related issues. And then at the end, we're going to ask for input from the practitioners that are on these calls. We'd like feedback as far as content, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. We were going to have like a virtual open house kind of thing, but we thought this might be better since we have an audience that's consistent and we want to work out issues to make it even better for the practitioner. But we need that feedback, good, bad, or indifference. Okay. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Graham Kilbaum-Nim. And if he could remove my spotlight and spotlight him, please. 감사합니다. You can unspotlight me or take me off the pin if you would. Give him the space there. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I'm a student at the headquarters studio in Springfield and have been there for more than 35 years. Today, my health tip relates to lower back issues. If there's one thing that I have heard from others in my age group and friends, neighbors, relatives, it's lower back issues. And it's a complex subject. I'm going to try and cover some basics today. There's more to it, and I'll give you an opportunity to get more information on this if it's of interest to you. I'm not a medical professional. I'm just a practitioner who has always had an interest in sports medicine, and my body has always told me I need to conquer something. And as a result, I'm always learning more about medical issues. Mine started at birth. I have a defect in my spine, which basically puts, instead of my lumbar vertebrae on top of each other, sort of at a cockeyed angle. And this creates a weak spot. I practiced judo for 25 years. I suffered a lot of pain in those 25 years. I wore a number of different kinds of braces during those 25 years. And after 25 years, I decided to do something else. At least in karate, I have a heck of a lot more control over what I do, rather than somebody pulling and yanking on my uniform and pushing me around and dragging me down on the ground, wrestling. I also find that the stretching in Subak-do is extremely important in keeping the back in alignment. I've undergone a number of analyses of my back condition, and that's an important thing for you to do or anyone to do to understand what's going on. For the most part, a lot of people have problems as they age with the cushion that's supposed to be between the vertebrae, either disintegrating, breaking, or maybe bulging out. I've had all of those things. I've dealt with them through exercise and through stretching rather than through surgery. That's a personal choice. You need to make that personal choice based upon information. I'll show you some of the things that have helped me and continue to help me as I continue to train. The basic principle that helps me the most is by thinking about elongating the spine and creating some space between the vertebrae and holding that for a short period of time or a longer period of time, depending on the circumstances, and letting the synovial fluid, which surrounds the spine, come in and cushion and take the place of what in your earlier days was provided by your discs. Now, A lot of times people have disc or bone-on-bone issues. That disc is gone. Not a whole heck of a lot you can do about it. There are some operative procedures that have been tried over the years. My issue is just one of compressing the disc, particularly in the area of my weakness. And today, I don't have a brace. Most of the time, I don't train with a brace, but there are times when I wish I had the brace. Sometimes I think every time I conquer something that has been an issue, whether it be shoulders, the neck, or whatever, my body tells me, you think that was something? You wait and see what's next. So this is something that I think I've got a handle on at the moment. It's helped others. I hope it will help or be informational for you. The first thing that I'm going to show you is my quick fix. The quick fix is what happens if I'm somewhere and I don't want to crawl around on the ground and do exercises, but I want to get that back so that I can maneuver. Well, the quick fix is basically putting my legs out in front, sitting down, putting the legs out in front, and arching the shoulders and stretching forward as far as I can. And I need to hold that. Sometimes for 30 seconds, sometimes for a minute, and longer if I'm having a lot of problems. I can do that over and over again. And that's something that's helped people who've had emergency issues and needed a quick fix. My longer term fix are some exercises that we do on the floor. The first exercise that I've learned is most helpful is based on a yoga position called the cat. And it's arching the back like a cat, rolling the shoulders forward, and stretching and elongating that spine to get that fluid to come in and lubricate the joint. Creating a big arch, the highest arch you can, and holding that to stretch that spine. But you have to keep thinking about stretching the spine. It's not just arching your shoulders, not just taking the position, but are you elongating that spine? The counter exercise to that, or a second exercise that helps, is something called the child pose. And the child pose is basically placing the hands out in front of yourself. Again, thinking about elongating the back, pushing forward, and stretching this way. And again, holding that position. And I alternate doing those two yoga exercises. And that really opens up my back, and I can feel less pain when I do that. I can do that 5 times a day. And when I had a bulging disc, which was really bothering me, that exercise I did several times a day. Now, something else which is very easy is anytime you have a structure in front of you, just basically taking the weight off your lower back. Letting, again, your spine be relaxed. And you could do that with a countertop, you can do it with a chair, you can do it with a lot of different things. If I had an armchair here, which I don't, an exercise which no one knows you were doing, place your hands on the armchair and stretch the back, keeping the seat from being, you don't have to raise yourself off the seat, but you basically keep the compression, reduce the compression in the back while you're doing a seating position. Even in this chair, I can move a little bit to the forward. And again, just put a little tension on it. And all of a sudden that back relaxes. And that relaxation brings in that synovial fluid, which substitutes for the natural cushioning. Some other issues. The bed. Your position is very important in bed, that you don't, again, allow that compression to occur. And many people use knees up. And they also put a cushion between the knees, keep the spine aligned. During my 18 months with a bulging disc, I could not sleep in a bed. And I slept in a lounge chair. It was much better on my back, and I didn't have to roll out of bed in the morning, drop to the floor, and try to eventually get myself roll up and stand up afterwards. If you have these kinds of issues, I suggest that you talk to a orthopedist, to a chiropractor, or maybe to a very good PT person. Luckily, I have one in my family. And they will help you understand your alignment, making sure that, for example, if your hip is too high on one side, that's going to shift and cause problems. I had that problem. My orthopedist said he wasn't going to fix my knee if he didn't fix my hips, because if he didn't fix my hips, the knee was going to go out of position again. So for the most part, there are a lot of things we can do other than surgery. I had stem cells put in the knee, in my shoulders. It worked fine, but every once in a while, you're doing a lot of exercise or walking, you're going to have some of those issues that you need to work out. I have a written description of all these things. When we post this session, I will have my email put in that posting. If you're interested in receiving that written part, I'd be happy to send it to you through the email. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope you found that to be enjoyable. Lemner?
Thank you, sir. I can definitely attest, working in surgery for all these years, the amount of people once they hit 60 up with back issues is pretty dramatic. And a lot of it is, he's saying, posture, not taking care of our back, our core, and basically flexibility. So thank you for your insights. That definitely is something that everybody eventually, hopefully, will not have to, but might face. I'd like to give kind of a shout out to one of our committee members, Jokyonim Brent. The other day, he has been practicing as a Jokyo, assisting his instructor, and has decided to take the jump from Jokyo to Kyosa. So he just applied for the program for Kyosa to open up a program at the YMCA to assist his instructor in the studio's growth. And I think that's pretty phenomenal for somebody, no offense, at the age of 70 to decide to take that jump and get out there on the floor and motivate people. So congratulations on that.
Thank you, sir.
So at this time, what we wanted to do is if we could just unspotlight and just go to a full page here so we can see everybody. gallery. Let's try that. There we go. Okay. So we want to get some feedback on the program, things you would like to see, things that are difficult for you getting in the program. We know there's some issues with that kind of stuff that's ongoing, but your feedback is essential, how we can keep streamlining this program to make it as effective, for you and beneficial. A little side note, our team has put together a proposal sent to the TAC and to the Kwongjing NIM about having Silver Mudoin event put in with the Nationals and in competition as a Silver Mudoin. So that is being looked at by them as a way of doing in-person competition as a Silver Mudoin, and then also during the virtual competition. I think that would be something that not that everybody wants to do competition, but I think it sets a great example for, if people in this group are out there showing that you can still do the art. It doesn't matter, the barriers you might have, and be able to put that out there as a visible example. So that's just something on the side. So if anyone has a question or comment or something you'd like to see, please raise your hand.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
This is Jill Erlinson. I'm sorry I couldn't figure out how to raise my hand on a Zoom.
That's okay.
Okay, I'm a student at Oregon Mudaquan. Rosenthal Sabomnim is my instructor. And I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you. This is really strengthening my my goals of, I know we're going to all live longer through training. So nothing specific. I really appreciate being a part of this. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for supporting it.
Of course.
Okay, Kenyon, Sabanim, Price, are you back?
Sabanim, can you hear me now?
Yes. Why don't you move in front of the screen and probably your audio will be better and we can see you.
Sabanim, I just wanted to highlight something that I loved that Mr. Brown said. Important it is to elongate, to always try to reach for the moon, reach for the sun. There are muscles that actually support that opening and that elongation, and we have to be aware of our posture. Nothing looks than our, and a lot of times we focus on crunch and power, but we really should be elongating and reaching and opening as much as we can. I would love to hear some input from Dr. Bennard, who probably knows much more about that than I do. But I know for me personally, I'm constantly checking myself in a shop window or a mirror or whatever. How's my posture? Am I staying reaching and open? Thank you, sir.
We're fortunate to have several people here that have Sumner Wilcox also. Maynard had both gave us great information, and we always like to have them be presenters. It's good to see Sumner Wilcox. I know the time is really tough for you at this time, but I appreciate your support. Okay. If there's any other comments, you can always email myself personally or the team if you have any comments or inputs of what you'd like to see, logistics of the program. I know it's always a little bit challenge of signing up sometimes for that. We're trying to work that out. We're also sending blast emails. If you should be getting them, has everybody received like a save the date email as a blast? Good. We went through that. Mr. Chenard handles that with Duncan Sabanim at headquarters. And I think they went from like 600 registered members, but that doesn't mean that everybody has the right email. So they knocked down, I think, 300 and something that are more accurate. So we're continually trying to get that information out. It's not an easy task, obviously, but thank you for doing that, Mr. Chenard. Let's see here.
You're welcome, sir. I saw there was a note in the chat, sir.
I'm sorry. Repeat that, please. Mr. Chenard, I didn't hear I didn't catch it.
There was a note in the chat. I don't know if anybody saw it.
Oh, okay, here we go. An interesting idea would have a group create a group demonstration each time we get together, maybe as an alternative competition. So at Nationals, we have two of our members are going to represent this program at the meeting with all the senior members. And they are trying to put together a group demonstration at this year's Nationals of Silver Moodle practitioners. So Blake Sabonim is trying to organize that. If you are going to Nationals, please reach out to him if you'd like to participate in that. And they're going to try to help organize that. Smith Sabonim, you have your hand raised.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I just wanted to mention when the announcements come out, if you could put a plug in to tell people to go to the sign up site, because the Zoom link changes, the address on the Zoom link changes. So the announcement, but also having people go to the registration spot on the Institute helps you get
Yeah,
the
so
Zoom
I
link.
think usually what we do is 2 weeks before we send out a save the date. Then when it's set up and made live, we send that with a direct link to that current sign up. Is that what you're talking about, I guess?
Yes, that's helpful. But also just having people, if you register, you'll get an automatic invitation that has the current link for that session.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
you still
Okay.
have
Thank
to
you.
go through that process to register each time.
Yep. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Well, it's 12 o'clock. Thank you everyone for attending. Happy Easter to everyone. And oh, we got something else here. Hang on 1 second. I see only Don members. Could we clarify who can attend this and what ages? So currently the Kwangjin Nim had said in part that this is for Don members. Originally it was age 65 and up, Don Kodanja members. And then after discussions, the age dropped to 55 because people have difficulties, but they are Don members. Would we like to see adults? Yes, I think that would be great as an adult. Obviously, the material we're covering a lot of times might be a little more above something they might be working on, but we will definitely put that as a consideration. Obviously, anything we can do to help any practitioners is seeing they head towards that age group. Things happen, and it's not always wait till 65 and your body explodes. So. Okay, if we could highlight Sabonim, and I'll bring back up the flags, please. We'll bow out. Thank you, everyone.
Well,
Is he
commands.
still with us? Yeah, there he is. You got him here. I got it. Go.
Highlight the flags.
Flags
Yep.
are up, sir.
Yep. Keep it right. Hello. Mukyum. Hello. Solomnim K. Kyungye.
Samnida,
Subak.
Bye.
Great to see everybody. Have a great rest of the weekend. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
you,
Good
sir.
seeing everyone.
Thank you, Sabonim. You look good. How are you doing?
Which some of them are you addressing?
Vanky? I said maybe they didn't catch that. His sometimes it's difficult with his computer there.
Okay. Well, everyone, have a happy Easter and have a good day.
You too,
Happy
sir.
Easter,
Thank you.
sir.
Good seeing you. Bye.
All right.
Sumo!